Hi friends, it's Melissa. Welcome back to the artist formerly known as Mrs. That's me. I'm glad that you're here today to bask in the natural sunlight on this lovely Saturday. The birds are chirping, the sun is kind of shining, there's a storm coming in, but it's still amazing because I have my windows open and my house is airing out and it's just delightful. Don't you love springtime? In Utah, we only get like maybe 2 weeks of actual springtime because sometimes it'll like warm up for a few days and then it will get really, really cold. And then all of a sudden it's 100 degrees outside and it's summer. So I like the days where it's not too hot, not too cold, and the sun is just beautiful. I love it. Please apologize. Please apologize. I'm going to apologize. Please excuse this disheveled look that I'm sporting today. It is my weekend without the bee, and it's very rare on these weekends that I change from pajamas to clothes, and I don't brush my hair and don't put on any makeup because I'm not trying to impress the laundry detergent or my remote control, so I just look like this. So here we are. Today I'm going to talk to you about co-parenting and the joys of joint custody. I think I told you back in my first video that not only am I going to be talking about weight loss, but I'm going to be talking about motherhood and life after divorce. So joint custody sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it really does, and it's really hard to get used to, and it takes time, but hopefully by sharing kind of what we went through in the process that we've gone through and the different things that we've done can help anybody out there who's also dealing with this same thing. So we're going to call my ex-husband from here on out, we're going to call him Mr. J, just to kind of keep his privacy. So Mr. J and I have been separated for, it'll be 2 years in August, and our divorce was final last November. In the beginning, when we first separated, I went to live with my parents, and me and B went to live with my parents, and he went to live with his, and he kind of disappeared for a while, for about 7 months. We saw him on and off and kept in contact with him, but he was just having a hard time adjusting, as were Miss B and I. So after a while, after the 7 months, he kind of came back, and he wanted joint legal and joint physical custody, and I wouldn't give it to him because I didn't think that that was necessary or fair. So we ended up both getting attorneys, and we went to mediation, which if any of you out there are getting lawyers or getting ready to go through this this experience, I would highly recommend mediation before you go to court, because or over court, because in mediation it's you two as parents making the decisions, whereas in court it's a judge who doesn't know anything about you or anything about your kids making the decision. So we went to mediation. We actually got to mediate in different rooms. So he was in one room with his attorney, I was in one room with my attorney, and then the mediator went back and forth, and it took a few hours, but we were able to come to an agreement. What it is for us is that Mr. J gets every other weekend and one overnight a week on his weeks that he doesn't have her for the weekend. And our weekends are a little bit different. He has what's called a fat weekend, so he picks her up from school Friday and then takes her back to school on Monday, and then on the overnights he picks her up from school and then takes her back to school the next morning. And that actually works out great because he and I don't have to see each other. I would be lying if I didn't say that I have to resist the urge to scratch his eyes out when I see him. You know, I still have a lot of anger and still a lot of hurt, but, you know, all things, time heals all wounds, so I'm working on letting it go and moving past it, but in the meantime, this just makes it easier, and I'm sure it makes it easier for him, because he probably doesn't want to see me, because I'm woman enough to admit that I can't be nice right now, and it's just better for me if we're apart. So that's what's worked for us, and what I do at the beginning of about every 6 months is I sit down, and Mr. J has a color, I have a color, and I'll get on my computer and I'll make a calendar for each month, and I'll mark our weekends in our corresponding colors, and then for holidays we go by the Utah code 36-6 something. So he has a certain set of holidays one year, and like he has Christmas on the odd years and I get it on the even years, and it works that way for all different holidays. So I'll mark our holidays, and then if we've like made special arrangements, or if he's taking her on a different day for something or whatever, then I'll mark it on the calendar, and then I'll email him these calendars. He looks over them, he'll say I agree to these dates or whatever, and then emails that back to me so that we have it in writing that everybody agrees. And then if we ever make changes, I'll go into the calendar, make the change, email it to him, he emails me back and tells me he approves it, or vice versa, or whatever, just so that everything's written down so there's no misunderstandings later, so that nobody can come back and say, oh, well, you said this. It just makes things easier. But getting used to being without B part of the time has been really tough. The first couple of months I was a mess. I'm kind of a control freak, and I like knowing what's going on with my kid, and I'm, picky about things that Mr. J isn't, and vice versa, I'm sure. And it's hard letting go of control. Me having that issue was actually probably what prolonged our marriage for as long as, well, what made our marriage drag out for longer than it probably should have, was because I was terrified of being without her and having to give up that control. But as time has gone on, I've learned a couple of things. And first, being a single parent is really hard, and I'm really lucky. I have a lot of help, and I have a lot of support from my parents and from people around me, and but it's still hard because a lot of things that you would get help on normally, you don't, and a lot of the responsibility falls on you. But getting this time off and these few days that I have to myself, I've learned to make the best out of them, because it is what it is and it's not changing, so why not enjoy it? So sometimes it's really easy for me to be like, hey, have a good weekend, and send her out the door and enjoy myself. And then other weekends, like last night actually, I have a really hard time because I'm really busy during the week with school, and I don't get to spend a lot of one-on-one time with her sometimes, and that's hard, where at the end of the week I have to send her out the door when I've hardly gotten to see her. So what I finally did was somebody sat me down once, and because I was pouting and just having a horrible pity party and was just not enjoying myself, and spent the whole weekend just worrying and wringing my hands and coming up, making these horrible scenarios in my head and whatever. And somebody very close to me sat me down and said, hey, listen, you have to learn to enjoy this and take advantage of it, and it's not going to change. So there are some women out there, some moms, that would kill for some time off, and you know who you are. You would all, yeah, you moms out there know that time off is very, very valuable. So after that, what I did is I came up with this thing where I take a timer on the weekends I'm really having a hard time, and as soon as she leaves, I set it for 15 minutes, and I give myself that 15 minutes to be sad, to sit on my couch and pout, or to cry, or to go up and sit on her bed or whatever. And then as soon as that timer dings, I let it go, and I get on with my weekend and do the things that are fun for me and that I like to do that I can't normally do when Miss B is around. And that's really helped, because to be a good parent, you have to set time for yourself, and you have to have your boundaries, and you just have to find what works for you. But above all, with talking about co-parenting and joint custody and being alone and all that stuff, and the fighting and the anger and whatever, the most important thing is your kid. And sometimes doing what's best for your kid means swallowing your pride, or not reacting when when the other parent pushes your buttons, or giving up things that you want to do what's best for your kid. So I hope that by kind of sharing a little bit about what we do joint custody wise, can help anybody out there who might be going through the same thing. But what I can say is it does get better. It gets easier. I have to set the timer less and less as time goes on, and you just have to find what works for you, because you're stuck with this person for life, because there's school events, graduation, weddings, you're going to share grandkids, and you just have to, it is what it is, you can't change it, and you just have to learn how to adapt and adjust. So that's it for that. I hope that y'all are having a good weekend. I know I am. Tonight I'm having movie night with my mother. Hooray! And Netflix and laundry has been a lot of fun this weekend too. So I will be back at you on Tuesday. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, rants, raves, anything, please go ahead and post them in the comment section. If you haven't already, I'd be really, really thrilled if you'd subscribe to my channel. Will you go ahead and hit the like button for the phone that's in my bra, because that's where I keep it. I hope that you have a great rest of your Saturday. Thanks again for being here, and as always, enjoy the day. Jay has a color, and I have a color, and holy cow. I promise I don't have lice, but it just itches.